response to some cue in your life. So the more we can start to identify these cues, the more we can take control of our relationship with food and really start to eat when we're hungry. Or, there's nothing wrong with eating when you see a cue, but it's really important to be aware of it. So at those times, you're eating because you want to, not simply eating because you've been conditioned to.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's important to say here as well that fasting doesn't substitute a poor diet for the rest of the week. I mean, I always steer my clients away from wheat, dairy, processed food whenever possible. It's important to eat healthy when you're not fasting, right?
Absolutely. It really comes down to, again, like I said, balance. So if we're trying to balance the fed state with the fasted state, you're not really creating a balance if you've added a couple of fasting days in, but then on the days you're eating, you eat a ton more. It's a balance. The way I like to say it is to tell people, the minute you're done your fast, I want you to pretend your fast never happened. So don't eat to compensate for the fast. Don't overeat as an excuse because, I was just finished the fast. I should really have an extra chicken breast, that sort of thing.
Sure.
Just keep on eating exactly as you would as if you'd never fasted, with an attempt to eat as responsibly as possible, and then you're on the right track.
Sure. I think it genuinely just comes down to calorie deficit, doesn't it? Like say if you're consuming 2,000 calories a day over a week, it's a period of calories over the week, and then it's just coming down to that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes down to the easiest way to control your calorie intake. It gives you the most power over your diet and the most power over your nutrition. So if you can easily create a calorie deficit, that's going to start you on the right path to weight loss. And then if you want to attempt to tinker with your diet and improve the quality of the foods you're eating, it becomes a lot easier when you're already comfortable with your diet. Whereas if you're already miserable in following a diet you hate anyways, and then at the same time you're cutting all the foods you love and trying to improve your diet, it's not going to last very long. So the benefit of intermittent fasting is that it's a very easy way to create that deficit that's not stressful, that doesn't really impact your life. You really get a chance to work your diet around your life as opposed to working your life around your diet. And by doing that, it really allows you then to have the freedom to experiment with adding variety to your diet, which is really important, or just kind of taking further steps to try to eat responsibly every day.
Yeah. That's the one thing I like about Eat Stop Eat over other diets. It's real easy to do. There's no counting of calories, weighing of food, or buying of expensive supplements. It's very practical, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, the practicality was, from my research, one of the key features I was really looking for. I wanted something that people could follow and follow long term, but that you didn't have to be that person on a diet, right? So if you wanted it to be, Eat Stop Eat could be a very private and personal way of eating, where you can really, because it's so flexible, get away with no one really knowing when you're fasting and when you're not, right? Because I want you to fast once or twice a week, but I want that to be very flexible, not always Monday, Thursday, just whenever is best for you. So if you're planning on fasting on, tomorrow on a Thursday, and a really big business meeting comes up that might happen to have a lunch included, you don't have to be that person who doesn't eat the lunch or says, no, I'm fasting. You can simply fast the following day. So it's that sort of flexibility that allows it to be very simple and very easy to follow, which allows a lot of people long-term success. Sure,
okay. That's what I was going to ask you, actually. Is it best to switch up your fasting days and times so your body doesn't get into a routine? I personally found when I did it that 2 p.m. till 2 p.m. was a good time for me personally, but that's just me. Is there like an optimum time, or is it just whenever suits your lifestyle?
I think by making sure you're always doing it suiting your lifestyle, you create that variability and that flexibility. So whether or not that has metabolic benefits long term, the more important thing is that what it does is really makes the diet easy for you. So by letting the diet just sort of, like I say, roll with your life, you create that variability that ensures it's going to last a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just switch gears for a second, Brad. What's your take on protein? Some people are always saying we're eating too much. Some people are saying we're eating too little. Everyone's freaking out about protein. What's your view on it?
I think that we go in cycles, right? Fat was bad, carbs were bad, and carbs were good, and fat was bad, and protein kind of got left out of this whole sort of dance. So naturally now protein is sort of the target of both the it's great and it's horrible debate. When I looked into protein, I did it specifically for the purpose of muscle building. So I think that's the area we're most confused on it. And what I found was that the research does support the idea that slightly more protein may have a benefit. But when I say slightly more, I mean slightly more than the recommended amount, which is actually a little bit less than most of us normally eat. So I think it's one of those misguided nutrients that's been given the halo of being perfect. And then, of course, because it has the halo, it's now the target of sort of the counterculture diet group. So you really can get by. You can build very impressive amounts of muscle on what I would consider to be the average North American protein intake. And sort of to make that kind of a worldwide thing, I would say that anything in the range of 70 to 120 grams, nothing extreme, slightly higher than the government recommendations in North America, is fine for building muscle. And even less than that might be fine too. But certainly I haven't found a lot of evidence that more than that is going to cause you to build more muscle. The only people I hear that from is from professional bodybuilders and people who use steroids. So it might be true if you're using steroids, but for the average person, there doesn't seem to be any long-term benefit in forcing yourself to eat tons of protein in an effort to build muscle. And then when it comes to dieting, the only benefit I can really see of protein is that it does have a bit of a satiating effect. It will sort of fill you up. And if you limit yourself to protein foods, you really take a huge chunk out of what you can and can't eat. And that seems to be the main benefit of the high-protein diet for dieting, is that you're so limited you end up in a calorie restriction anyway. It's difficult, but it is limiting. I have no large problems. I know there are people who are kind of trying to connect protein to various sort of disease states, etc. And I've looked into that research slightly, but since I don't condone high amounts of protein anyways, I don't see a reason to kind of go into further research what would happen if you ate super high amounts. So if you're eating an average diet, not only do you have enough protein to build muscle, you also have enough protein to lose weight. Therefore, why push it? Why change it? Why make it any more of a miracle, nutrient than carbs or fat? It's just one of the nutrients that should be eaten, but not in excessive amounts.